Nothing.
A big bag of
Bags?
bags. Who puts hot sauce in storage?
A Storage Wars cast member buys a forgotten unit, but what they found nearly shut down the entire show. They found something the public was never supposed to see, and here's the craziest part. This wasn't even the only scandal that threatened to shut down Storage Wars. Behind the bright lights and bidding wars, Storage Wars has been shadowed by accusations of planted treasures, staged drama, hidden manipulation, and even a cast member who tried to expose everything. So what was really inside that mysterious storage unit? And how close did the show come to collapsing under the weight of its own secrets? Let's open the case because the truth is buried deeper than you think. The mogul who blew the whistle. In December 2012, Storage Wars was on fire, and it was Dave Hester that lit it. The show was averaging 4 million viewers per episode, making it the second most popular series on A&E, trailing only Duck Dynasty. People across America were suddenly obsessed with storage unit auctions. The cast had become household names. Dave Hester, known as the Mogul, was one of the show's biggest personalities. His signature "Yup" catchphrase echoed through every auction. He was aggressive, confrontational, and made for great television. Then he sued the entire production. Hester filed a lawsuit in Los Angeles Superior Court against A&E and Original Productions on December 11, 2012. He wanted more than $750,000 in damages, but the money he wanted isn't the juicy part of the story. What Hester claimed could have shut down the entire show. According to Hester's lawsuit, Storage Wars was a fraud, nearly every aspect of it. Hester claimed that producers regularly planted valuable items in storage lockers to manufacture drama. He said they would appraise items weeks in advance, then secretly place them in units before filming. The lawsuit cited specific examples. In one case, A&E allegedly planted a pile of newspapers announcing Elvis Presley's death. Another time, producers supposedly buried a BMW minicar under trash in a locker. These weren't random claims. Hester was providing details that only someone on the inside would know. Still, Hester wasn't done. He even claimed that interviews were scripted, the auctions were staged, and that Original Productions paid for storage units on behalf of weaker cast members who couldn't afford to compete, tilting the playing field. He even claimed the network paid for plastic surgery for one female cast member to boost the show's sex appeal. What was going on? But here's what made this explosive. Hester wasn't just accusing them of making bad television, he was accusing them of breaking the law. His lawsuit invoked the Communications Act of 1934, which makes it illegal for broadcasters to rig contests involving intellectual skill with intent to deceive the viewing public. This law came about after the quiz show scandals of the 1950s. When America discovered that shows like 21 were fixed, Congress passed legislation to prevent networks from fooling audiences ever again. Hester claimed Storage Wars violated that law. He argued that because bidders needed knowledge and skill to evaluate storage units and make profitable decisions, the show qualified as a contest of intellectual skill. By rigging the auctions, A&E was committing fraud. Now, here's where things got juicier. According to the lawsuit, Hester complained to producers about all of this. He told them the salting and staging was possibly illegal. He refused to participate in what he called a charade. Their response? They fired him. So when Season 4 of Storage Wars premiered in late 2012, Hester wasn't in it. His lawyer argued this was wrongful termination and that Hester was being punished for refusing to break the law. A&E and Original Productions fired back hard. They denied the allegations completely. They claimed that there was no staging involved and that the items uncovered in storage units were genuine. But just as they said that, they deployed a legal strategy that added to the drama. They argued the show was protected by the First Amendment and that Storage Wars was entertainment, not a game show. They also claimed the Communications Act didn't apply because the show didn't involve chance, intellectual knowledge, or intellectual skill in the legal sense required to trigger the statute. Essentially, they were saying, even if we did stage things, you can't prove it, and the law doesn't cover us anyway. So, were they really staging things? The case moved through the courts. In March 2013, A&E and Original Productions won a significant victory. A federal judge rejected Hester's claim of unfair business practices. The network had filed an anti-SLAPP motion, a legal tool designed to dismiss frivolous lawsuits that target free speech. The judge agreed that Hester's unfair business practices claim couldn't stand. That meant A&E was entitled to recover attorney fees and costs from Hester. The final bill was brutal. In April 2013, the court ordered Hester to pay $122,692 to cover the defendant's legal expenses. However, Hester's wrongful termination claims survived. The court ruled he could move forward with that portion of the lawsuit. The case dragged on until July 2014, when both sides reached a confidential settlement. 2 months later, Dave Hester returned to Storage Wars for Season 5. The lawsuit had been settled. The allegations remained. A&E never had to prove the show was real, and Hester never had to prove it was fake. But the damage was done. The court documents are public. The accusations are still out there. Fans had seen behind the curtain, and many of them started asking questions. Social media exploded with debate. One user wrote that the show was obviously staged because buyers kept finding suspiciously perfect items. Others defended it, saying storage auctions really do produce wild finds sometimes. The consensus seemed to be that while some discoveries might be genuine, the show definitely manipulated things to create better television. A&E showrunners eventually admitted quietly that they occasionally combined storage units to make them more exciting. They didn't call it staging, they called it editing for entertainment value. What do you think? Is the show real or fake? Dave Hester had pulled back the curtain. Whether or not every allegation was true, he'd revealed something important. Reality television is a constructed product. The reality is shaped, edited, and sometimes manufactured. Storage Wars kept going, but it would never feel quite the same. Then this next part happened. The $7.5 million question. In November 2018, Dan Dotson was at a charity event in Indio, California. Dotson and his wife Laura were the auctioneers on Storage Wars. They ran American auctioneers, conducting hundreds of storage unit sales, both on camera and off. They'd seen it all, or so they thought. An older woman approached Dan. She kept glancing at him like she wanted to say something. Eventually, she walked over. She told him her husband worked with someone who'd bought a storage unit from Dan for $500. The buyer had found a safe inside. That wasn't unusual. Safes show up in storage units all the time. Most of them are empty. This one wasn't. According to the woman, the buyer hired a locksmith to crack the safe. The first locksmith couldn't do it. The second one succeeded. When the door swung open, the buyer found $7.5 million in cash stacks and stacks of bills, sitting in a storage unit that sold for $500. Dan shared the story in a Facebook video on November 5, 2018. He and Laura speculated about where the money came from. Maybe the original owner's credit card failed and they lost track of the unit. Maybe they went to jail. Maybe they moved away and forgot. But Dan admitted he didn't think anyone would forget about $7.5 million. The story gets crazier. When the original owners found out their storage unit had been sold, they contacted a lawyer. The attorney reached out to the buyer with an offer: return the money and keep $600,000 as a reward. The buyer declined. The attorney came back with a better offer: return the money and keep $1.2 million. The buyer accepted. So the lucky buyer who spent $500 walked away with $1.2 million. That's a profit of $1,199,500. The original owners got $6.3 million back. Everyone walked away happy. But the question hanging over this story is simple. Was it real? Storage Wars had already been accused of planting items in lockers. Dave Hester's lawsuit alleged that producers staged dramatic finds to boost ratings. So when Dan Dotson tells a story about someone finding $7.5 million in a unit he auctioned, people are skeptical. It's just too convenient. There's no video evidence. The sale supposedly happened on a non-filming day. The buyer's identity was never revealed. Neither was the location of the unit. Beyond it being somewhere Dotson conducted auctions, Dan's co-star Renee Nazoda told The Blast he wouldn't be shocked if the money was connected to organized crime. If you find money like that, there's probably a reason it isn't in the bank, he said. That's a reasonable point. Legitimate money usually doesn't end up forgotten in a storage unit. Dan himself acknowledged the danger. When asked if he would have returned the money, he said yes. "I wouldn't ask a damn thing," he explained. $7.5 million is a lot of money, but that's a lot of running too. He implied that whoever owned that kind of cash might come looking for it, and you wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of that conversation. So is the story real? There's no way to verify it. No one involved has come forward publicly. No media outlet has independently confirmed the details. It exists only as an anecdote Dan Dotson shared at a charity event. But that's the problem with Storage Wars after the lawsuit. Once the show's authenticity was questioned, everything became suspect. Even stories that might be true start to feel like they could be manufactured for publicity. The $7.5 million find became part of Storage Wars lore. It's the biggest alleged score in the show's history. But without proof, it remains a story, maybe a true one, maybe not. And that uncertainty is exactly what Dave Hester's lawsuit created. And on September 6, 2015, things took a darker turn for the show: the espionage raid. On that date, Nabila Hanis stood outside a storage facility in Lenox, California. She had been a recurring buyer on Storage Wars during seasons 2 through 4. She got the nickname Paris Hilton after buying a storage unit containing items belonging to the actual socialite. Hanis made a career out of storage auctions. She knew how to spot value, and that ability put her in the crosshairs after her bid for a tech gear was successful. The tech she got from the storage unit turned out to be military-grade communications equipment and high-tech surveillance gear, the kind used by intelligence agencies to track foreign assets and gather signal intelligence. This wasn't consumer electronics. It was classified technology the public was not meant to see. Hanis saw Boeing's name on some of the equipment. She contacted the company and also contacted her lawyer. That's when things got serious. Hanis's attorney was contacted by the U.S. Attorney and law enforcement personnel. They explained that the equipment in the storage unit was potentially part of an espionage attack. The U.S. Attorney provided court documents showing the property was part of an ongoing fraud investigation. They verbally demanded immediate surrender of the equipment. While Hanis's lawyer tried to negotiate a legal transfer of ownership, things heated up. Federal agents stormed her home wearing bulletproof vests and ski masks. The officers demanded the equipment, explained it was part of an ongoing criminal case in Maryland, and they had the authority to seize everything immediately. So they did. So how did spy equipment end up in a storage unit? That question was at the center of a criminal case in Maryland. Federal prosecutors believed the equipment had been stolen and possibly used in illegal intelligence gathering. Storage units are sometimes used to hide stolen property or assets connected to criminal activity. This meant Storage Wars could become a hotbed for criminals, and whoever owned that unit was likely involved in something serious enough to draw federal attention. Hanis was left with nothing. She'd paid for equipment that was immediately seized. The government took everything and gave her nothing. She wasn't going to accept that, so she sued Boeing. The lawsuit, filed in 2019, argued that Boeing should compensate her for the loss. She was a legitimate buyer who purchased the unit legally at auction and had no way of knowing the equipment inside was connected to a federal investigation. The lawsuit claimed she deserved to recoup her financial loss. The case dragged through the courts. As of late 2019, the equipment remained in federal custody as evidence in the ongoing criminal case. There's no public record of how the lawsuit was resolved. Hanis may have settled, or she may have lost. Either way, she didn't get to keep the spy equipment. This incident revealed something important about Storage Wars and storage auctions in general. When you bid on a unit, you have no idea what's inside. The auction rules state that buyers can only look in from the doorway with a flashlight. They can't enter, they can't touch anything. They're buying blind. Most of the time that means you might get junk, or you might get something valuable, but sometimes you get something dangerous, and the show was at the center of yet another scandal that could bury it. The show that wouldn't die. Here's the thing about Storage Wars. It should have been destroyed by scandal. But Storage Wars didn't die. It didn't even slow down. The show concluded its 12th season in January 2019, despite that confrontation with the feds. However, after that season, something happened. People thought what Nabila found in the storage unit had led to the show getting shut down because there was no immediate announcement about renewal. People thought the scandals had caught up with it. The audience had moved on. Then in March 2021, A&E announced Season 13. The show premiered on April 20, 2021. Season 14 followed in November 2021, bringing back Barry Weiss, who'd left the show in 2013. Season 15 aired 24 episodes and concluded in August 2023. A 16th season premiered in June 2025. Storage Wars has now been on the air for 15 years, across 16 seasons. Despite lawsuits, despite allegations, despite everyone knowing it's at least partially staged, why does it keep going? Because viewers don't care. That's the truth. A significant portion of the audience either doesn't believe the show is entirely fake, or they simply don't mind. One fan wrote, "Of course it's staged. All reality TV is staged, but it's still entertaining to watch these people dig through junk and occasionally find something cool." Fans watch for the entertainment value, the characters, the drama, the thrill of seeing what's inside the next locker. Why do you watch it? Audiences accept a certain level of fakeness in exchange for entertainment. They know the conversations are prompted by producers. They know the surprises are sometimes manufactured. They know the conflicts are exaggerated, but as long as the show delivers drama and escapism, they'll keep watching. A&E clearly understands this. Season 16 transitioned to an hour-long format, giving viewers more content per episode. Dave Hester returned after being absent since Season 12. The network promoted the new season heavily, emphasizing fiercer auctions and jaw-dropping fines. The promotional language is telling. A&E isn't promising authenticity. They're a promising spectacle. The show has also benefited from the evolution of reality TV itself. In 2012, when Hester filed his lawsuit, reality television was still somewhat new. Audiences expected reality shows to be relatively unscripted, but by 2025, everyone understands that reality TV is heavily produced. Viewers have seen enough behind-the-scenes exposés and former cast member interviews to know how the sausage is made, so when Storage Wars is accused of staging, modern audiences shrug. Of course it's staged. Everything is staged. The scandal that should have killed the show actually became part of its identity. Storage Wars is now openly understood as a dramatized version of storage auctions. People watch it the same way they watch wrestling. They know it's scripted, but they enjoy the performance anyway. There's also the fact that storage auctions are genuinely interesting. Even if specific fines are planted, the core concept remains compelling. People really do bid on abandoned storage units. Wild items really do show up sometimes. The Storage Wars lawsuit didn't disprove that reality, it just revealed that the show enhanced it. A&E has also carefully avoided admitting wrongdoing. They settled the lawsuit with Hester confidentially. They've never publicly confessed to planting items. Their official position remains that the show is authentic, even as they quietly acknowledge combining units or editing for entertainment. This careful messaging allows fans who want to believe the show is real to continue believing. And fans who know it's staged can enjoy it anyway. Storage Wars has become a case study in reality television's resilience. Scandals don't kill reality shows anymore, not if the core entertainment value remains strong. The show is entering its 16th season. Storage Wars won. The truth didn't matter as much as the entertainment. So, there you have it. Storage Wars got into trouble, and through it all, the show kept going, proving that reality television audiences care more about entertainment than truth. But the questions remain. How much of what you see on reality TV is real? How much do you care? Do you still watch Storage Wars? Does knowing about the staging change how you view the show? Or do you think reality television is always about entertainment over authenticity? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Storage Wars' darkest moments, hit that like button and subscribe for more investigative breakdowns of your favorite shows. I've got plenty more scandals and controversies to uncover. And if you want to see what else reality TV has been hiding, turn on your notifications to get more juicy updates.